Hey everyone, back into this morning's video. It's Monday at GazWeatherViz.com, which means only one thing. It's Europe Day. Every Monday at GazWeatherViz we have a look at weather for the coming week across the continent, and today's no exception. So, we've found autumnal conditions arriving across the north and the central and eastern parts of Europe. Now it's turned a lot cooler. High pressure is still out to the west and into the southwest of Europe. It's trying to keep summer going in the west and the southwest and ridging it through into central parts of Europe at times. But in the north, I think it is now definitively going into a more autumnal pattern, particularly, but not exclusively, for Scandinavia. So before I get on with the video, just know about the website that we're using for the European Outlook. It's weathercentral.de. You can find a link to it on my links page. So here's today's Arctic pressure chart. The high pressure is out in the Atlantic, still ridging through into Ireland and the United Kingdom, into the far west of Europe as well. But to the east of it, as I say, it's turned a lot cooler. We've got this northerly wind extending down through Scandinavia into eastern and some central parts of Europe as well. Pressure is also leaking a little bit now through the Mediterranean, perhaps allowing a few showers or thunderstorms to form through the Med this week. Upper air temperatures show that it's still pretty warm here out in the west, so for United Kingdom, Ireland, down into western parts of France, and going into Spain and Portugal, the warmth clings on really, although it's a little bit cooler for Ireland and the United Kingdom than it has been, but generally it's still quite a warm scene out in the west. But for central and eastern parts of Europe, it's pretty cool really, particularly up over Scandinavia, where we've got this northerly wind actually bringing cold air down. There'll be a risk of night frost for central northern parts of Scandinavia, and maybe even a few snow flurries turning up over the mountains. The rainfall shows that we've got a little bit of rain coming into Ireland and western Scotland, also some heavy thunderstorms potentially down over Spain and Portugal, and possibly also affecting some of the Balearic Islands as well. This could be a little bit overdone, not sure it's going to be quite that bad through Minorca, Mallorca and Ibiza, but the suggestion is there that there could be some showers or thunderstorms today. Of course, it's getting well on into the year now, so you're expecting to find thunderstorms turning up through the Med. Much of France is dry, as is Corsica and Sardinia, and then east of that, we find quite a lot of heavy showers and thunderstorms going through the Adriatic down in towards southeast of Europe. And going up to the northeast, more persistent area of quite heavy rain there, and some of these showers to the north of Scandinavia could be a little bit wintry over high ground. Temperatures today show that it's going to be pretty cool really. The highest temperatures are out in the west, but most central east parts of the continent actually just into the mid-teens at best in most places, and feeling particularly cool up over Scandinavia and northeastern parts of Europe. Going through into the middle of the week, the high pressure continues to ridge in off the Atlantic through into the central and western parts of the continent. I think it's still wobbling down in the Med with risk of thunderstorms there, and it's much more unsettled up to the north. So for Scotland and going off in towards Scandinavia, we've got areas of low pressure which will be bringing some showers or longer spells of rain at times. Upper air temperatures, nothing to write home about for most central, northern and eastern parts of Europe. The highest temperatures through the Med, and still out in the far west of Europe, close to that ridge of high pressure. Rainfall shows that there could be thunderstorms scattered about through the Mediterranean, particularly perhaps centred around the central basin of the Med. Most central areas will be dry going into the east of Europe as well. Very heavy rain around the Black Sea and parts of eastern Ukraine, extending up in towards central and western parts of Russia, and then hooking back into showers or longer spells of rain over Scandinavia. There'll be quite strong westerly winds as well. It's a showery scene probably for Scotland and Northern Ireland also. Temperatures through the middle of the week, nothing really to write home about. The highest temperatures will be in the west, somewhere into the upper teens or below 20s Celsius across some parts of England, down towards France, and then going southwards of that into towards Spain and Portugal. Temperatures could be up into the mid-20s. But for most central and eastern parts of Europe, it's actually relatively cool through the middle of the week, with a hint of autumn, particularly up in the north. Going through to the end of the week, we bring this very deep area of low pressure into Scandinavia, so it could bring some gale force winds and heavy bouts of rain in towards Norway and Sweden. Otherwise, pressure is trying to build here through central parts of Europe, still connecting back into this big ridge that's sitting in the Atlantic. The upper air temperatures for the end of the week, it's quite cool up in the north around area of low pressure, although it moderates compared to the particularly cold air that we've got at the moment. That has gone. We've lost that very cold air that's digging down in Scandinavia right now. But nevertheless, it's sort of coolish autumnal weather with this area of low pressure. Highest temperatures in terms of the upper air temperatures through the south and central parts of Europe. So heavy rain coming into Norway, Sweden and Finland. Could be some gale force winds accompanying that rain, a proper autumnal storm. That just fringes into northern parts of Scotland, but really many other parts of Europe actually having a lot of dry weather under that ridge extending in off the Atlantic. Still showers or thunderstorms scattered about through the Mediterranean. This particularly has some focus around Portugal, perhaps around the Costas, and maybe one or two across North Africa unusually as well. But I think anywhere could get a shower from Ed at the end of the week. Bit of a north-south split with the temperatures lifting up actually through the central parts of Europe at the end of the week. Just getting up into the upper 20s, nothing to write home about really, but warming up compared to where they will be through the early and middle part of the week. Conversely, you can't see it, but it's still pretty cool up over Scandinavia in particular, and cooler areas digging into Scotland and northern parts of England through Ireland as well. Finally going through to next weekend, and very little change actually. We keep low pressure going up to the north, so autumn really digging in across Scandinavia, but this area of high pressure still keeps things mainly dry and settled through most central and southern parts of Europe. The upper air temperature showed it's still warm under that ridge through many central and southern parts of Europe. It's cooler with these areas of low pressure, as you would expect, through the north. Significant risk of gales across the northern parts of Europe as well. Have a look at the precipitation. We see more bouts of heavy rain coming in towards parts of Norway. That'll no doubt sweep eastwards in towards Sweden and Finland as it does so. That hooks back in towards Scotland and the far north of Northern Ireland, but much of England and Wales still hanging on to dry weather, and then most parts of Europe actually dry under that ridge of high pressure until we reach risk of some thundery showers through the central and of the Mediterranean. Temperatures still pretty warm through most central and southern areas, cooler up to the north. So, in summary, autumn is digging in across the north of Europe now for Scandinavia, western parts of Russia, northeastern parts of Europe. Autumn is properly digging in. I don't think we're going to get out of it now. It's there and it's going to entrench. But for most other parts of Europe, actually you're about starting off quite cool through central areas. Things are going to warm up a little bit towards the end of the week and into next weekend. High pressure ridging back in off the Atlantic until that high pressure in the central part of the Atlantic pulls back out to the west towards Bermuda. We're going to keep things mainly settled through central and western parts of Europe and quite warm as well. So autumn is there for the north. It's still to dig in the west and through central areas. That's it for now, and thanks for watching. Do it again next week. Bye for now.